There's a tree on the outskirts of town that nobody dares to pass at night. The locals call it the widow's tree, but no one really knows why. All they know is, the closer you get to it after dark, the more things seem wrong. The town of Millford is quiet, isolated, tucked away from the busy highways that connect the big cities. People here have always been off about Millford. The tree. It's an old, gnarled oak, standing alone in the middle of a desolate field, with branches twisting like fingers reaching out to grab you. Most of the town's older residents avoid speaking about it, and when they do, it's only in whispers. When the sun sets, the road that leads to it is empty. No cars, no pedestrians, just silence. But YT wasn't always like this. The tree was just another landmark on the outskirts of Millford. A curious thing, sure, but nothing to fear. That was until the summer of 1976. A young woman named Clara had recently moved to Millford with her husband. She was unfamiliar with the town's strange customs, having come from the city, and found herself fascinated by the old stories the locals told. On one particular evening, she was sitting on the porch of her house when an elderly neighbor came up to her, his eyes wide and shaking. "Whatever you do, miss," the old man said, "don't go near the tree after dark. Just trust me." Clara smiled, thinking it was some old superstition. But that night, curiosity gnawed at her. She hadn't seen the tree for herself yet. So, after dinner, she decided to take a walk and see what all the fuss was about. She walked down the dirt path, the faint glow of the streetlights casting long shadows on the road ahead. The tree stood at the end of the field, its twisted branches silhouetted against the dark sky. As she approached, a chill ran down her spine. The air felt heavier, thicker, like it was pressing down on her chest. She paused, trying to shake off the unease. Then, she stepped closer. At first, nothing happened, but as she reached the base of the tree, she noticed something strange. There was an old rusted swing hanging from one of its branches. It hadn't been used in years, but something about it seemed wrong. The swing swayed slowly, though there was no wind. Clara stood frozen, staring at the swing, and that's when she heard it, a soft whispering, barely audible at first, but growing louder than whispering. It seemed like a whisper coming from within, not a sigh or a whisper. The whisper being greeted by the most steady of everything held it still. Then a slow movement toward the left in the corner of her eye, showing glimmers of passing. "Help me, please." She spun around, her heart pounding in her chest, but there was nobody there. The field was empty, just the tree, the swing, and the endless darkness beyond. Clara quickly turned and ran back home, telling herself it was just the wind. But that night, things started happening. She woke up at 3 a.m., hearing the sound of creaking wood from outside her window. The swing. She glanced out the window, and there it was again, swaying in the moonlight. Her husband dismissed it as just an old tree, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Clara turned to run, but the ground beneath her feet gave way, and she collapsed onto the earth, gasping for breath. The tree seemed to reach out for her, its branches now alive, twisting like serpents to drag her toward its roots. The last thing Clara saw before the darkness took her was the woman's hollow eyes, and then nothing. Clara's body was found the next morning, still lying beneath the tree. No marks, no signs of struggle, just an expression of pure terror frozen on her face. The tree, however, remained, standing tall in the field, waiting. Since that night, the tree has become more than just a local legend. It's a warning. No one dares to go near it after dark. Those who do, they never return. Some say Clara wasn't the first, that there are others, lost souls trapped by the tree, forever whispering for someone to help them. But nobody ever does. The whispers started soft at first, almost like a dream. Then they grew louder, more urgent, until they were screaming at her from the dark. "Help me! You're not supposed to be here." Run. Clara couldn't sleep, couldn't think, couldn't escape the sound of the voice calling from the tree. Next evening, Clara's curiosity overtook her again. This time, she couldn't resist. She decided to visit the tree after dark. But as she neared it, something changed. The air around her felt colder, and the whispering wasn't just in her head. It was all around her, coming from the ground beneath her feet, the branches above her, the very leaves in the air. Suddenly, the swing lurched forward, and Clara froze. Something was standing in the shadows behind it, something tall, with long, slender limbs, its face obscured in the dark. Oh, God. Her faded white dress, her face pale and cruel smile. The scarlet spires glow deeper, her expression even more self-centered. With the smile at least afforded their target,